Thank you, Brian Miller.
Thank you, Jody, for having me.
Welcome to the JodyJazz Factory.
Hey.
You've been here a couple times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we are so happy to have Brian here. And tell us why you're here.
Well, I've been blessed with the opportunity to come back to the Savannah Jazz Festival. I performed here 2 years ago, actually on my 40th birthday. And so my 42nd will be this coming Tuesday.
All right.
But I'm happy to be back, man. So, we'll come back and get to play with some great guys that I don't usually get to see. Kevin Bales and Delbert Felix and John Lumpkin. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
Me too. I'm looking forward to it. So we're going to talk about Brian's mouthpiece. And it's the Super Jet, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, Super Jet 8.
Why do you play the Super Jet?
Why wouldn't I play the Super Jet? Man, the Super Jet it's a very versatile mouthpiece. I like the fact that it allows me to be who I am. It gives me my best voice. It's very versatile. I can play it whether I'm playing horn lines in a big show band, a brassy horn band, or whether I'm playing something nice and subtle, a nice ballad, whether I'm walking around the house serenading my wife or my kids. It's a mouthpiece for any occasion. So I love it.
And judging from that first little beautiful thing you played, we would think this is a nice warm mouthpiece.
Oh yeah. So I used to never play metal. I was just like, no, because they're all bright, they're all shrill, and just that kind of thing. But when I played this mouthpiece, man, it just spoke. It allowed me to still play and be warm. And it's bright if I need it to be, but it allows me to play with my same setup, and I can manipulate it to be whatever I want it to be.
All right. So. Well, let's. I'm gonna turn these mics off and these talk mics, and hear you on the louder side. Okay. And when I say loud, man, I wish you were here to hear this. So, go for it.
All right.
Goosebumps, dude. Goosebumps.
Yes, God is real, man.
Oh,
that's it.
Oh, God.
No?
Every time you do that, get me. Wow. Wow. I hope the recording does it justice. Because standing here, it's one of the thrills of my job. Getting to stand next to some of the best players in the world with the best sounds. I know we're kind of doing a thing about the mouthpiece, but I got to do it right now in this same thing. How do you get that sound? How do you get that sound?
So I grew up initially back in Kinston, North Carolina, and playing in a country, holiness church. Mm-hmm. It was just one of those things where, we didn't always have a whole bunch of microphones in the sanctuary. So the pastor had a microphone, the lead singer had a microphone, and whoever read the announcements or did the prayer had a microphone. That was it. So the saxophonist and the praise team and all that, outside of just the leader, you didn't have a microphone. So, I grew up playing without a microphone for years. And then now granted, I used to blow very sharp and overblow, and but once I got into high school, and then especially once I got to college with Dr. Ira Wiggins at North Carolina Central University, he actually made me focus on my sound. He said, you can play all the greatest lines or the hippest stuff and this, that, and the other, but if you don't have a sound, nobody's gonna want to hear you. And that really stuck with me. And so that was one of the biggest things that I did. And, he introduced me to Charlie Parker, but I had grown up listening to Cannonball.
Yeah.
So, I already knew what I would love to sound like. I just didn't know how to get there. And so Dr. Wiggins gave me some exercises and long tones and that kind of thing. And, here I am.
So I have two questions. first of all, when did you start playing saxophone in the church?
I started playing saxophone at 11.
11.
Mm-hmm.
And had you been playing a couple years before that?
Not saxophone, no.
What
No,
were you playing?
I started at 4 on piano.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. I played piano from the age of 4 to about 8 or 9. And then, I started playing drums in my church because the drummer was my cousin who graduated. And so, just kind of filled in, and then by the time we got another drummer, which was a different cousin, I ended up starting to play saxophone at that point, just before I went into the 6th grade.
Wow, and you picked it up that quick? You were playing within how
Well,
long?
no. So when I first got the saxophone, I was honking and squealing and, I would say probably the lowest of a mimic of Boots Randolph. It was just, it was god awful. It was terrible. My mom used to make me go outside to play. She'd come home from work. My dad was okay with it, because he just shut his door and turned the TV up. But my mom, she's like, nope, take it outside, go in the backyard, that kind of thing. So I was belting out whatever I could, But now she loves to hear me play.
But basically, sometime at 11, you're playing in the church, and they didn't have any charts for you, did they?
No.
Yeah, so it's all
ear.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. And there's some tricky changes in gospel music.
Gospel music, yeah.
Some cool things.
Of course, it wasn't gospel music back then hadn't come to where it is now.
Okay.
It was a little more subtle. You still had some of your really beautiful gospel ballads and the hymns and that kind of thing, or gospel hymns, which would be almost like gospel ballads. But and you had your praise, or your celebratory type tunes also, and but it wasn't as modernized as now. The music hadn't yet progressed as far as it is now. So, but yeah, it was still, I do say though, if you can play gospel music and play it well, you can play anything else, because it's all in there now, especially it's all in there. Man.
And I have this thing that's coming to my mind is like we talk about a God-given sound. Because you hear Brian talking, and you've got this voice, and I'm wondering how much of your sound comes from that. You know how Dexter talked. If anybody ever heard Dexter Gordon talk,
yeah,
it's a beautiful voice.
Yeah.
You got that thing there, and how much of that do you think is your sound? Just your.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I've lost about 40-some pounds of it, so so that's it's a good thing. But I love it, man. I do work a day job, and I talk to a lot of people on the phone, and they always say, "Well, you should be in radio."
Right.
Or this, that, that.
Well, you have a face for radio.
No.
Sorry, I couldn't. You know me.
2 words.
That's beautiful. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
So.
A face for radio.
But what I want to know is what did you learn in college specifically? He wanted to refine your sound, so to speak, right?
Right.
And can you tell us anything that we might take to the practice room?
So I guess the biggest thing for me, he told me, he said, get in a corner. If you can't get a corner, then just get to a certain place on the wall.
Yeah.
Because the great thing about saxophone is that, the sound partially comes back to us, just by the design of the instrument. It's not going straight out like this. Some of it comes here. So it's right in your face, you know what I'm saying? Whereas trumpet players, trombone players, everything they play goes out here. So they kind of have to hope that it just sounds like what they think or, are trying to get out. But when you get into a corner with a saxophone, man, I think it's just like the most beautiful sound in the world, because you hear everything. You hear your sound, you hear, if you're listening for it, you can hear overtones, you can hear all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so just to be able to hear the true tonality of your sound, and that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
You see what's on my tenor over there?
Yeah.
I've got the, what's he call it, deflector.
Mm-hmm.
It's because when I started getting into the custom dark, it's a much quieter mouthpiece. And that let me really groove onto the sound and not worry about being as loud as I'm used to. And it's, so that's a similar thing. I love, having that sound,
having the sound come back to you. Yeah.
What about anything that he taught you? Embouchure, throat, chest, breathing?
Yeah. So I used to play I used to fold my bottom lip.
Okay, kind of.
You know, which is kind of how, how they actually initially start teaching anybody, you know, and that I learned as far as for jazz. Now, you know, granted, I had just started doing it. You know, I mean, I had done it since I'd ever started.
Yeah.
So it was just, it was a habit, and to actually have to break that was tough, because now it's almost like you're having to learn a whole new system, because now the altissimo doesn't come out the same. Mm-hmm. Now, you know, your subtoning is totally different. It's tight. It's hard. So you have to retrain your jaw just to be able to do things and to be able to manipulate and get sounds and all that kind of stuff, man. It was a monster, but I thank God for it.
Same exact thing happened to me at Berkeley. Joe Viola, the first lesson.
Okay.
I'm doing the same thing. Because I was a clarinet player. I've been playing sax all along, but I never changed embouchure for the saxophone.
Oh, okay.
And Joe Viola, he took my thumb, his handkerchief, put it around, and he put my thumb in his mouth, and he showed me this whole thing, you know, a nice cushion and everything.
Right.
And then he said, now, if you get a good embouchure, a good grip, and you blow the horn, everything's going to come out. And he got behind me, and he fingered the horn, and he had me blow, and he played all over the thing.
Played all over it, yeah.
And by that time, I said, this Berkeley place is weird. But that's the same thing, and that was hard. It was like, it was 4 months of heavy long tones.
Oh, yeah.
And heavy, you know, really working on sound.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you take a couple of hours off just to rest. You know, you had to, because otherwise the fatigue is just crazy,
what reed
man.
were you playing?
Then I was playing probably 3.5 and 4s.
Yeah.
You know,
and you didn't have to. You could have played softer reed.
Well,
what do you play
back
now?
then, you thought the stronger the reed, the more the sound, or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm playing on Van Doren Java Red 3s.
Okay, pretty reasonable reed. And what number Super Jet is that?
8.
8. Okay. So I think most people that play the 8 would tend to go a little softer, between 2.5 and, like if it was Diodario, 2H, too hard or something.
Okay,
But that thing blows. It blows easy, right? And
oh yeah.
So that it sounds tremendous.
Oh yeah. And I haven't even filled it up. I mean, I'm still kind of conscious of my surroundings.
Oh
it's
we own the building.
It'll go.
We own the building.
It'll go.
If you're trying to brag, let's see. Let's see.
I'm not bragging. I'm not bragging.
Let me turn these mics off. See if you can break my microphone or something. Let's see. Okay. Go for it. Don't go too far back. That is amazing. Amazing. Again, you got me. Goosebumps. It's my real pleasure to be here with the incomparable Brian Miller.
Same here, man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, John.
Thank you all. Don't forget to subscribe and like.
There you go.
Bye.